Florida versus California prison. Two different coasts, two different codes. I did time in Florida, hot, dirty, violent. But when I sat down with a man who survived 20 years in the California prison system, I realized I hadn't seen it all. We talked politics, race wars, lockdowns, stabbings, and how different the game is on the West Coast. This ain't no podcast fluff. This is East versus West, Sunshine State versus Cali chaos. You're about to get a front row seat to the brutal truth on DOC TV Unleashed.
Stay in school.
What's up, everybody? I'm Blessed and Free. Welcome back to another episode of DOC TV Unleashed. So I got a special one for you today. So there's a big difference in the prison system in Florida and the prison system in California. Brought Derek on. He's done some time in the California prison system, and he's got a lot of knowledge about what goes on. So if you like this type of content, before we get started, do me a favor, smash that subscribe button and turn your post notifications on so every time I do drop an episode like this, you can hear it first. So Derek, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Good morning.
Good morning, man. Are booty bandits allowed to walk the yard in California prison?
No, I did 20-something years on level 4 yards, and no. Back in the 90s, they had gay guys on the yard. They took them off because the gay guys were kind of like somebody's old lady in a way. Have somebody else with him, it would kick off a war between races. So that was one of many reasons why they're not on the line. Anybody that gets caught, especially white boys, anybody gets caught in their celly or anything like that, which is rare. I've never, to be honest, in 24 years in the system, I've never been on a yard where that happened. I think maybe one time, but nobody found out for sure. And the guy ended up getting killed that supposedly did that.
So hold on one sec. In the movies, when you see a white boy in prison and he screws up, a lot of the other white boys will rape him in the movies. That never happens in California prison?
No, that's completely fiction. No, anything that's got to do with any type of bullying, because that's a bullying thing, they're immediately ran out the yard. Any type of bully that tries to punk a white boy or try to take their cheeks, whatever the hell they call that, it's all bad for that guy.
Damn, that's so crazy because, man, in Florida, when I hit Gulf CI, which is a pretty dangerous prison in Florida, when we went out to yard, you literally saw probably 6 to 10 booty bandits just walking around doing their thing, acting gay as hell. Half the gang members would pursue some of them, or they would be pursuing them. And white boys in Florida prison had it rough for a long time, and they still have it rough to some degree at some camps because people were just putting down on them. You know what I mean? So that's so crazy, the differences, man.
That's the way California was. I won't talk about it too much, but that's mainly why the brand is the brand. Originally, when they started, it was pretty much keep the white car safe, because our numbers are really low and we didn't want to fall victim, obviously, to other races and stuff like that, because we're severely outnumbered, hundreds to one. It's just insane. So basically, they laid out the foundation for us to be trained and to be able to defend ourselves, because some people get in there, they're soft as hell, they don't realize what they're stepping into, and it could be all bad. Their one decision that they make, if they get scared of another race and they bomb on them, the whole yard, if not the whole prison, kicks off. There's reasons why there's rules in place. S&Y side, there's a lot more gangs. There's booty bandits on that side. I stayed away from all that stuff. And their rules they don't have rules. And there's a reason why right now the California prison system, the level 3s and level 4s are all locked down, because they're mixing actives with S&Y now, which is, I don't understand why they do that, because they already know it's going to be a bloodbath. It's all bad.
So the California prison system is pretty much the last prison system that houses inmates based on segregation of race and gangs, because in Florida, man, it is literally, you can have a person that committed first-degree murder, you can have a kid that got addicted to pain pills and started stealing from Walmart and Lowe's and shit to return it and got caught, and did that a bunch of times and finally got a year and a day in prison. So you got him, and then you got the dude that's been to prison 3 or 4 times, burglaries, whatever, and they're all in the same dorm, one bunk after the other. sleeping right next to each other, and gangs, Bloods, Crips, all mixed. So do you think the California prison system is headed in that direction?
I don't see them mixing other races together. They did it for the dropouts back in the days when they first had S&Y. They had to go through a process called the debriefing process that they wanted to tap out. They would have to sell up with another race. And mainly, for instance, you're a Southsider, they're going to sell you up with a Norteño just to make sure that you're not a sleeper tapping out, going to S&Y so they could go over there and stab somebody that's on some type of checklist. They're pretty hip to all that stuff now.
Have you heard of Rene Boxer?
I think he's the one that wrote the book, The Black Hand or something like that.
Yes. Did you ever get a chance to read that? Do you know about him?
No, I heard about it when I was active. That was a very dangerous book to write. I applaud the guy. It takes a lot of balls to write a book like that.
Did you read it?
No, I never read it. I ran across a couple of people that gave me the breakdown what it's about. He pretty much exposed everything.
So so if you're on a California level 4 yard, is his name talked about? Does it get brought up, or are people like?
No, on the S&Y side, they'll talk about the guy. He's wanted big time.
Wanted as green lighted?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever been green lighted? Had a green light on your head?
Nope. I've never been disciplined or anything. I was one of the lucky guys. I was just really quiet.
You programmed right. That's not luck, dude. There's no luck. Yeah. Don't confuse the people.
I just kept my mouth shut. And I listened to the OGs when I first went in there, because when I went in there, made a mistake on the last video. I went in when I was 20. So I did what I was told. The homeboys cased me out before I came in. And I just listened to the older guys and just kept my mouth shut and learned everything that I was being taught.
What's the difference between level 3 and level 4?
So level 3, you have the policies. You could do fisticuffs on a lightweight. You can fight. The politics are a little bit less harsh, and level 4s is mainly all cell time. You don't see gyms and stuff like that. You have one cellie, that's it. And level 2, that's all pretty much. I wouldn't call level 3 Camp Snoopy, but most of them they're pretty soft. They're more prone to kick off wars and stuff because they don't have very harsh politics like level 4. If you're a white boy and you blast a black guy, say for instance, that could kick off the whole prison system.
When you say that, it would kick off a riot?
Oh, everywhere.
I don't really know because I don't know how Cali prison is, and I'm sure the people don't. But so if you're in prison, the white guy smashes the black guy, and that happens at third rec. So everybody goes lockdown that night. The next morning, what goes down and how does it go down?
If you have the right heads on the yard.
I'm saying if everything's in, the oil's in the machine and it's a compound where everything's running how it's supposed to, what would that look like the next morning?
If it's not isolated and say for instance, it happens on the yard, it kicks off right there and then. There's no waiting. Everybody goes at it. If it happens in the kitchen, it's a one-on-one. Usually two things happen. Sometimes they try to work it out, all depending on who's at fault. So if I take off on a black dude and we fight one-on-one in the kitchen, the whites they'll discipline me. I'll either get stabbed or I'll be put on a mission where I got to go stab somebody. It just all depends on how hard the blacks want to push on me getting removed off the yard or disciplined. They don't dictate what we do with our people. We try not to dictate what they do with their people. But at the same time, everybody doesn't want a war. So we all try to work it out some way.
What is the difference between the gangs and inmates running the compound versus the administration?
It's kind of hard to explain. The best way I can explain it is just like the last video, you got two sets of rules. If you're in there, say, for example, you can't go and have a sidebar talk with a cop. I've seen other videos and stuff where people are chatting with cops and stuff in the day rooms and stuff. You can't do that without somebody being present because they don't know if you're telling or whatever. It just covers your ass. And as far as the politic wise, if you're on a level 4 yard, you're asked to do a lot of things by your own people. If you have no use for what they call cancer, they cut you out. If you're not willing to hold on to knives, if you're not willing to put in work on level 4 is actually stabbing somebody, not putting hands on somebody.
If me and you were in prison and I handed you an 8-inch blade and said, yo, white boy, hold this, what would you do then with it?
If you weren't seasoned, for example, I was seasoned. So if I hit a yard and somebody slides a knife under my door and says, hold on to it, that's really not common because I'm a seasoned veteran. They usually do that with the youngsters. Somebody that just hit prison. It's what they call a heart check. They want to see if you're with the business, if you're willing to go the extra length to take care of your car or your people.
Did you ever have somebody give you orders that you didn't like, that you just couldn't stand?
What bothered me, I grew up in Stockton, California. When I first went into prison, they said that we're enemies with the Norteños. That was kind of tough. I'm not into gangs or anything like that, but I grew up with a lot of Norteños in my neighborhood. They're like family to me. To go in there and hear that they're your enemies, it's kind of on site and stupid shit like that. That bothered me a little bit. It gets a little brutal.
What do you think people on the outside don't understand about the California prison system and the politics?
What I hear a lot is people saying, throw away the key, lock them up forever. They're a scumbag and you deserve what you get. Quit crying, do your time and all that bullshit. There's people in there that, like me, I wouldn't say I was innocent. I didn't go out murking people left and right and stuff like that. There's people in there that one guy, he stole a pizza and he got a life sentence for it because he had 2 strikes. They need to understand that in there, not everybody's just bad people all the way around. There's innocent people in there. There's people in there that did really petty crimes, got stuck in a system. You go in there with a couple years for stealing a car or something, and next year you get some jackass like Wes Watson saying, oh, you got 2 years? You got a little time to spare? Here, go put in some work. I've ran across people like that all the time that just don't care about you going home. That's what the public needs to understand is we're in there fighting 2 fronts. We have to deal with the politics with our people. And sometimes you got bad people running those yards or those prisons that just don't give a shit. And then you got CDCR that's crooked themselves. So if they think that the blacks are plotting on them, they try to kick it off between the blacks and another race so they can slam the prison and all that stuff. It's kind of a rabbit hole. There's so much shit going on with CDCR. It's sad.
It's like that with Florida too, man. They're both pretty, I think, in the spotlight the same amount, it seems like. There's always some scandal going on with Florida prison, like officers gang banging chicks at the chicks prison and all types of crazy shit. How much did all that ink cost you to get, man, in the chain gang?
Oh, nothing. I didn't pay for it. My whole body's covered. Some of these tattoos represent things, but
you didn't pay for none of that?
Mm-mm.
You earned it them all?
A lot of them I earned, and then I've had cellies that I had a homeboy that I sold up with. I've been trying to look for them. I can't find them anywhere because we would go on very long lockdowns, 1.5 years lockdowns where we would never leave the cell, and we were bored.
You guys don't write the governor and file lawsuits for keeping you guys locked down that long?
That's the problem. Administration, the governor, I've never seen a camera hit any of our yards, a news camera or nothing like that. Everything was kept secret. And that's another thing I would like to tell the public too. People keep talking about keep them in there and all this stuff. What they don't realize, they're paying taxes on all that. They're the ones that are paying $70,000 or more for each inmate a year to house. And there's no way in hell they pay that much.
On the other side of that coin, you have a household where 2 people are both making $200,000 a year household, and they're fine with fucking paying taxes to keep them all locked up. And they'll tell you that. Mm-hmm. And I've had people tell me that, and I don't agree with it, but it's like the people that were saying something, I forget about the last video, and about your age, not saying it, you were 1 year off or 2 years off. Bro, relax. We're just telling a story about what happened.
Right. I'm very militant, so I try to watch what I say and the way I conduct myself. What these people need to realize out here is when people get out of prison with me, if I didn't go through the self-help programs I was allowed to go through to get my head straight and get trained to think like a normal person again, instead of some militant fucking monster or whatever you would call us, I would tell people, who do you want to live next to you when people get out of prison? Do you want a good guy that's rehabilitated, that just fucked up and did his time, he paid his debt to society? Or do you want some guy that the COs just constantly fucked with and tormented, and their people just kept sending them on missions where they're just stabbing and killing everybody, and they finally get out and they live next to you? Who would you prefer to live next to? That's the problem with prison system right now, is people laugh at the rehabilitation part, but I don't think it's funny because people need help in there to be able to get trained up, come out. Now you talk to a female, it's all bad. You're not supposed to talk to females. You can't sit there and stare at them all day.
You're talking about the female officers?
You get caught fucking...
That's crazy, man. Such differences.
I had to train myself, come out here and to talk to females. I'm really shy. It's kind of brutal, man. There, I remember you mentioned something about people that are trying to bust one out in a cell, right? I don't want to get too graphic with it, but playing with themselves, what happens if they get caught? That was a big problem. We had a few incidents in High Desert where people were caught doing that with the female officer doing count time, looking in their cell and stuff. You get caught doing that, they put an R on your jacket, child molester.
They only do it in Florida. They put it on your confinement door when you're in the box, 1-9, I think it is, and that indicates you're in there for gunning.
We had one guy that did it multiple times. and he ended up getting stabbed. First time, we try not to take the word of a CO because they're the enemy. So we can give them a chance, an opportunity to prove they didn't really do that. They just got busted out of the blue. You got some guys that they do it on purpose. I don't really hear about with the white boys. You get caught doing that, you're in trouble. It's not good.
I agree. I wish it was like that in Florida, honestly, and it's not. They get away with it left and right. It's crazy.
So in Florida, how does it work with the white car when you have, say, for instance,
there's no white car.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, because I was going to ask about the white Crips and the white Bloods and all that stuff.
That's a thing. So that's just everything, man. It's like the army. When you go into prison, be all you can be. And people run with that to the fullest. White Bloods, you have white Crips, you have white boys like Unforgiven and AB, Aryan Circle. And then you have a group of white boys that play Dungeons and Dragons on the yard. You know what I mean? So it's there's such a mix. Or just there's some white boys that are just kids, bro, that got hooked on pills, ended up in prison. They're really not bad. They're not criminals. They just are addicts. That's really what most of it is in Florida. Is I would say 7 out of 10 inmates in the Florida prison system have a drug addiction or suffer from mental illness, for sure.
Sounds like California. The reason why I asked about it because they're green lighted on level 4 yards in California. They can't be on the yard. They politic hard. I've been on a couple of yards where the blacks try to defend them and say, look, you touch this white boy, it's on and cracking. But a lot of times they do their thing to get him removed and without getting killed. And I never really agreed with that. I always told people that's their decision. If that's the car, and that's because a lot of these kids, they're raised around that. They grew up in an all black neighborhood. How are you just going to forget all that all because they're white and stuff? You're going to politic on them because when you see the other gangs, Southsiders and stuff like that, they got white boys.
When Lil Wayne came out, every white boy in Florida, for the most part, wanted to be a Blood because that shit was so prevalent everywhere because he was so viral and shit for a long time. A lot of that came from that. And then what you said, man, you're a product of your environment. If you grew up on the block where your cousin's a G and so is your uncle, you're going to most likely do that. It's just all where you live and shit.
It's your environment. I was told that when white boys go in there, they're pretty much victimized, especially by the blacks and stuff. And I see a lot of videos with the blacks that glorify it in a way.
It's not so much anymore because everyone's just so messed up on drugs, but I never had any problems. But I've seen other white boys get taken up through there just because they won't fight back. They won't do anything. And if you won't do those two things in Florida prison, that's your ass, Mr. Postman, because they're coming.
Yeah.
They're relentless.
In California, that's not tolerated. One race does not put hands on another race. It doesn't happen. It's all bad.
I've seen that a lot. It's crazy, man. I said there's definitely a big difference between the two prisons for sure. Do you want to give your TikTok a shout out? And I can put your link in the description of the video.
I just wanted to tell everybody thanks for following. Hopefully they learn something from these videos to teach their kids or whatnot. To me, that's what my goal is, to keep people out of prison because all you're doing is just making money for those people behind the curtain, warehousing and whatnot. And I'll talk about prison policy, whatever I got to without dropping names and stuff like that. I'm not doing none of that crap. But whatever anybody needs to know, they can always reach out to me anytime. Free advice anytime. I'm not going to charge them.
All right. I'll put the link to his TikTok in the description of this video. If you guys could, please hit that like button, subscribe, turn your post notifications on, and drop a comment and let me know what you guys want to see in future videos. This is DOC TV Unleashed, and we're out.